So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about hooves and shoes, just a little bit. So our horses, let me turn around here. Okay, so our horses have hooves and they've got this hoof number on there. You can see that. Your RB, set my hand there. Okay, so we got a hoof number there. So that 4-digit number is the license of the horse, and the city requires that we put that on so that they can make sure that the horses aren't overworked during the day, that they get their veterinary exams, that they get their vacation time. As that number grows out, as their hoof grows out, we do have to put it back on. It is done with heat, basically. It's like a brand that goes on there. Usually we have a stableman do it for us, a little bit easier. Just give them a tip to do that. And my horse got his number on Friday. You can see there's an older number, a little bit lower, that's grown out. Today's Monday, by the way. So you can see the older number there, backwards on here. And then above it, the newer number on there, because his was growing out, so we want it to be clear and legible. Every horse has to get licensed through the city, as well as us having a carriage driving license and a license for the carriage. So we're all regulated through the city. And that number does not hurt the horse when you put it on. There is a thing called hot shoeing, where, you know, that the heat on the shoe is put up against the horse's hoof. We don't do it at our stable, but some of the police horses do have that done. You'll see horses getting shoed like that. They're not in pain, they're not wincing, they don't feel it. So horse hooves are pretty much made out of the same thing that your fingernails are made out of. So when our horses get their hooves trimmed, it's the same way as when you cut your fingernails. It doesn't hurt, you don't feel it. So when our horses get shoes put on, it's as if you had a really long fingernail and you pierced a hole through the nail without touching any of your skin. That's basically what it is when horses get shoes nailed to the bottom of their feet. Our horses will wear shoes that have borium or drill tack on the bottom, which prevents any slipping. They're road shoes, just like the police horses wear. I'm going to try to pick up his hoof for you, but it may be a little bit hard because I'm doing it with one hand. Give me a foot, give me a foot, give me a foot. All right, so if you can see that hoof there, so you can see, I can't hold it up with one hand like this. So you can see his hoof in there. That middle like triangle part is actually called a frog, kind of funny name. That's a sensitive part that you don't want to grown out to the ground, because the horses will feel it, it's gonna hurt. You don't wanna cut away too much of it, but you wanna keep it clean. Horses can get basically what's like athlete's foot called thrush, and it's can be pretty common. It just kind of seasonal, or you know, it just happens. You know, they stand in their poop sometimes before it gets mucked out, even though we do have 24/7 stablemen clean out those stalls. And to treat that, you can use a brand called Duracell or Thrush Buster. It kind of looks like an iodine. There's a whole bunch of different remedies for that. So sometimes you'll put it on preventatively, just so nothing, you know, is going to grow there. If you get a minor case of it, it's okay to work the horse through it. Just want to stay on that, treat it a couple times a week, and you got to keep it clean. So we clean our horse's hooves with this pick in the back. You can pick out any manure or dirt or rocks and things that may get under your horse's hoof, and the brush also, just kind of clean it out there. So we do that for our horses every day, part of their grooming routine. And I think that's most of the basics on horse hooves and horseshoes. So feral horses, you know, in the wild, will have their hooves naturally sort of filed down a bit when they're walking over rocks and things. But most of the time, they wind up really overgrown, and horses end up having, you know, issues with mobility. They can end up injured, and it's painful for them to have these hooves that just keep growing and growing and get too long. So it's for their health that you do trim them. Our horses would get their hooves worn down way too quickly if they were walking without shoes in the street. So the shoes are just protecting their feet from heat and debris and getting worn down and stepping on something painful and things like that. The same way your shoes work. Some of our horses do have special pads and things in there. It's always at the discretion of their farrier, whatever they feel like would be best for their horse's needs. We don't use rubber shoes here. In the winter, they can be very slippery. They can slip on manhole covers and things like that. But there may be a couple of horses, depending on the season, that may have something similar to that. Again, whatever is special for their needs. Nick has some Clydesdale in him, and they are notorious for not having the best hooves. So his farrier actually has some, basically like a silicone that he'll, put in to fill in the cracks that will help his hoof stay in the right shape as it grows out. And it just aesthetically looks a little bit nicer. Horseshoes come in different sizes. Nick wears 4s or 5s. Scout wears 5s or 6s sometimes. We do our horses' shoes every 4 to 6 weeks, by the way. Some horses can go the whole 6 weeks. They just don't walk that hard, and their shoes don't wear out that much. Typically 5 weeks is the average. Nick here, he just got his hooves trimmed and his shoes put on Friday, and today is Monday, as I mentioned, so he's got a while to go there. And you can see they're kind of like all neat and done. It does get some cracks sometimes, so what we also do for that is we'll put some hoof oil on there. There's a whole bunch of different brands of hoof oil. Everyone has a favorite. It's basically like when you treat your cuticles or something, or put a lotion on your hands. So we do that. Makes our hooves look shiny. There's some that is a little bit more dull, but it's basically a conditioner for the hooves. So we do put that on. You don't want to do it too much. Again, just like anything, is it too much? We do it maybe once or twice a week. And so Nick here, he usually will get a loose shoe around 4 weeks or so, and it's about that time. So we can tighten it and basically just make it to the 5 weeks. My other horse, Scout, can probably make it to about 6 weeks, but I do change him out at 5 weeks. Once in a while something comes up, the farrier can't make it. He also does the police horse stable, all their horses, so he can't make it on the date I want. So if I have to push it a week here or there, sometimes it happens. But as long as it's within that 4 to 6 weeks, your horse is good to go. And that's basically why you may see sometimes our horses have better hooves than others. You may be catching them at their 5 weeks when they're getting shoes tomorrow, or you may be like, oh, they look great, and that's because they just got them done. So there is that range there, but they are all perfectly okay to work, whatever you are in that range, as long as your shoe does not come off. If it comes off, you gotta head back to the stable. You cannot have a horse without a shoe, or you have someone put it back on. There are people here that work in this business that do know how to shoe horses. They choose not to because it's a lot of physical labor and time. So they may not do it, but they can help you in a pinch, put a couple more nails in. They know what they're doing, and they will put that shoe back on for you just until you can get some new shoes. And as long as your horse is not lame, showing any signs of pain when they're walking, it's okay if it gets a little loose sometimes until you touch it up. But ideally, you don't have loose shoes and you have all the shoes on, or you can't work. And that's just kind of the law here in the city. So that's shoes and hooves.